Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with a love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums... Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo News. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe, featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi.
Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, conservation, and general animal weirdness. Y'all, this week has become the craziest week that I think I have had in a long time. So in case you didn't happen to see it on social media, or in case social media has turned your brain into that of a goldfish, I am spending the entire week at the Lincoln Children's Zoo for the Tree Kangaroo Workshop. Now, this is something that I think is officially put on by the SSP, but unofficially is put on by the SSP and SAFE program for tree kangaroos of Papua New Guinea. And it's incredible. And I'm not going to talk a lot about it right now because my Tuesday episode is going to be a recap episode. But for those of you who've been listening for a while, you know that one of the great big themes of all of my recap episodes is how crazy conferences are, whether it's one of the multiple AZA conferences that I've covered, or the multiple AAZV conferences that I've covered, or even the AZAC conference that I didn't get to go to, but that we had Kristen Scaglione talking about on here. There is an absolute given that it's going to be crazy at a conference. And this is a workshop, but a workshop is just a small conference. And I will tell you that out of all of the crazy that I have experienced over all of those weeks, this is actually the craziest. It's been just so much, but it's in the best way. And we'll talk more about that on Tuesday. But part of it has been getting to see some tree kangaroos, of course. And you may remember that Judy, the one of the females here, and Bexley, the male here, recently gave birth to a Joey. It was announced a couple of weeks ago now. And I have been seeing Judy and the Joey every single day. So if you haven't had a chance to look on my socials yet, make sure you do. There are pictures, there are videos. It is a very young, maybe 7-month-old tree kangaroo Joey. But remember, tree kangaroos' age is based on when they are born, like a vaginal birth, and then they are literally the size of a jelly bean and they crawl into their mom's pouch to keep developing. So it's pretty ridiculous how young and adorable this little one is. And I am loving my time here. So yeah, we'll talk more about that on Tuesday. But until then, quick reminder that this is a crowdsourced Zoo News program. So if you see anything that you think is Zoo News worthy, go ahead and tag me in it on the socials at Rossifari or on the TikTok machine at RossiFariPod, or email it to me, rossifaripod@gmail.com. And then also make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these Zoo News episodes or any of the interview episodes that drop on Tuesday. And last but not least, if you'd like to support the podcast, you could do so for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. Oh, actually, I said last but not least, but I lied because there's one more thing with the holiday season fast approaching. If you are planning on getting a follow bracelet or even checking out the brand new and already almost sold out follow advent calendar, please do so by following the link on my social media pages. It's right there in my links on Instagram and on Facebook. I'll get a small little taste of whatever you purchase. And if you use the code Rossifari20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. So go do the thing. All right. With all of that said, it is time to get to it.
Time for Zoo News.
right. And so we're going to start this week off with a headline story. It's not a super long one, actually, but it emotionally felt like the headline of the last 2 weeks for me. So I saw something this year at multiple facilities that mentioned it on the socials, and I actually got to see one in person. And it was something that I've never seen done by a zoological facility before, and I found it to be really beautiful. So last week, there was a major holiday that we celebrated. And in this case, I don't mean Halloween, although I will tell you I do love Halloween. But I am referring to Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. The basic idea behind this holiday, without going too deep, is that friends and families gather to celebrate those who have passed away in the last year, and sometimes even recognizing relatives who have left before that. And part of the celebration is the creation of an altar with pictures and sometimes memorabilia of the past people that you can put flowers and candles and stuff like that on. And this is called an ofrenda. And this year, for the first time ever, I saw multiple zoos and aquariums that had ofrendas at their facilities. And these included Jenkinson Aquarium, the Lehigh Valley Zoo, the Philadelphia Zoo, and Elmwood Park Zoo, where I actually got to see it in person. And y'all, I am not a religious person. I'm not the type of person who wants to go and visit my grandparents' graves and stuff, right? I will mourn and I will miss people, but I've never been a big fan of that kind of thing. I was shocked at how much I was moved by the ofrenda there. So the thing that they did was they had tributes to animals that had passed over the last year, including Rocky, the North American river otter, who I have loved for years and even got to feed and hang out with. And when his habitat flooded during the big flood there, got to clean it out by hand with one other person. I don't know if got to is the right word to use there, but Rocky has meant a lot to me ever since then. You might remember that I talked about the fact that when I fed him, he would make the cutest noises I've ever heard any animal make when you fed him, because as he ate, he went yum, 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 and it literally just sounded like he was saying yum. Just amazing. And then on top of the tributes to the animals that passed over the last year, they also welcomed tributes of the pets of keepers there that had passed away, and even opened it up to pets from the local community. The ofrenda was actually presented privately to the staff before being made public, which I thought was extra super cool because, honestly, one of the biggest complaints I hear just kind of in the zoological field in general from keepers and stuff is that facilities don't always allow staff to mourn animals as they would like to, whether that is because of, not having enough staff or just, we all need to care for the other animals as we lose them and whatever. And it's especially hard for people who have animals and love animals that don't get posts on social media and stuff like that. So I think this is a really powerful and unique way to allow the staff to say goodbye to every animal that passed over the last year. And I don't know, it felt really powerful to me in a way that surprised me. And of course, it's also, a really cool look at diversity and multiculturalism and all of those things, which are hugely important as well. But at the end of the day, just the beautiful tribute and the ability to say goodbye. I mean, I placed a little carnation in front of Rocky's picture and thought about all the good times we had. And it was a really nice moment. So if you are a facility that is interested in, looking into this for next year, I highly recommend it. It was a beautiful thing. And the staff that I talked to at Elmwood Park Zoo seemed to really love it as well. So yeah, moving on from Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, we move on to births. And we're going to start with a very special guest. So put your hands together, or don't, you're listening to a podcast, for Danny DeMarco of the Lehigh Valley Zoo.
Awesome. So we are standing here outside of our alpaca habitat, and we have some pretty exciting news. The past week, we had a baby alpaca born. They're called Cria, and this is Lumi's third baby, and it is a little girl. And we're so excited. She's going to join our two boys. We have Buzz and Tupaca are the two boys that have been born here in the past couple of years. So we're excited to have her join the group, join our little herd of alpacas with her father, Havoc, mom, Lumi, and then, of course, we have Buzz and Tupaca. She has not been named just yet, but we're very excited because she is fully melanistic. So she is a black alpaca, which is very rare. And she was born right near Halloween. So I'm expecting some very fun Halloween names for her when it's announced.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it.
Oh, we love Danny DeMarco. Always great to have her on the podcast. And then some other births this week, and last actually, since we didn't do a normal Zoo News episode last week, Disney's Animal Kingdom has announced the birth of 3 North American river otters, which they have chosen to name Biscuit, Butternut, and Potato. I think those are really cute names. ZooAtlanta has announced the birth of multiple prehensile-tailed skinks. The two are currently living behind the scenes with mom and dad. Unlike most reptiles, young skinks actually stay with their parents for up to 2 years, which is both surprising and pretty amazing. It actually has something to do with how they get and grow their gut microbiome, I believe. So yeah, interesting stuff. The Audubon Zoo in New Orleans has welcomed 3 African lion cubs to the pride. Born to Mom Collie and Father Arnold, the 3 little ones are doing well, bonding with Mom behind the scenes, where they will stay for roughly 12 weeks before gradual introductions to the rest of the pride start. And then last but not least in births this week, Buttercup the capybara at Cape May County Zoo has given birth to 2 little capybaras, or caplets. The father is named Goomba, and they're joining a pretty cute little group of cappies at the Cape May County Zoo. I actually, I got told about this when I was visiting the zoo recently and had to keep it hush-hush until they announced, but always exciting to see baby caplets. And of course, that moves us to the other side of things. And we're actually going to go back to Lehigh Valley Zoo for another story, this time a farewell.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hildebrand. I'm the lead education specialist here at the Lehigh Valley Zoo. We are talking, unfortunately, about our gray fox, Mr. Louie. Unfortunately, he has since passed with us at the beginning of October. He was about 11 years old. So he came back to us in 2012 as a young little pup. And he spent many years here with us, having lots of socialization time with his keepers, having really good back scratches whenever he was up for it, loves to randomly pee on random things to, mark his territory, let you know he's here and how excited he is. He was just a really iconic, amazing fox that we had here at our zoo. That will be greatly missed.
I'm so sad.
Yes. Yeah. Everyone absolutely loved seeing him. They knew his name by heart. They would call him whenever they walked by his enclosure. He would come up to them, or he'd be sleeping in his little den, which, I get it. I'd also love my afternoon naps too. So he was definitely a fan favorite. And I know for a lot of the current keepers here that have worked with him, I know that this passing was a big one for them.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Please join me for the Nature Disturbed podcast, a podcast about the good, the offensive, and the confusing parts of the animal kingdom, from the sewers of Florida searching for alligators. Oh no, did I forget to put the bins out? To the surface of Mars, investigating the possibility of life beyond Earth. Sorry, I had some bubbles lodged in my throat. I said, to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, all while interviewing scientists about their research along the way. Do you like comedy, whimsical storytelling, and learning about the natural world? If not, then you'll hate the Nature Disturbed podcast.
Yeah, that's tough, especially since there's kind of younger staff here, too.
Yes, exactly. So, and some of his keepers, especially some of his older keepers that have been with him from the start up till now, it's definitely been very difficult for them. I mean, all these animals here are like family outside of our true family. So, we cherish these moments. We live for these moments. We don't love to see the end of life happen. But at the end of the day, everyone kind of unfortunately has an end of life. But he was spoiled up until the very end.
Oh, I love that. Thanks so much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
So sad to say goodbye to such an icon. And actually, that's not the only icon we're saying goodbye to this week. An animal I recently got to spend some time observing. Susie, the chimpanzee at the Sunset Zoo in Manhattan, Kansas, has recently passed away. Susie was the oldest female chimpanzee in human care at over 71 years old. When I visited Sunset Zoo a few months ago, the first stop was to see Susie, and I could not believe how well she was chimpanzeeing, given that, she was so old. And don't get it twisted, you could see her age by looking at her. But not because she wasn't doing well. Not by watching her, she ran around and played with her enrichment. And I've got to say, honestly, it was the longest time I have ever spent at a chimpanzee habitat. But anyone who saw Susie knew how special she was. So sending all my love to the team at the Sunset Zoo. What an incredible, 71 plus years. Just mind-blowing. The Erie Zoo has announced the passing of Coconut, the Linnaeus two-toed sloth that called the zoo home. Coconut was suffering from pneumonia that was causing low tissue oxygenation. Intensive treatment was attempted, but he ended up passing away. Further diagnostic testing will be performed as part of the necropsy in the hopes of explaining exactly what caused the pneumonia, or maybe even finding out whether there were additional issues that led to his passing. He was relatively new to the zoo, but left a large mark without a doubt. Amarillo, a 26-year-old Chicoan peccary, has passed away at Beardsley Zoo. She was one of the oldest of her species in human care. Known for her calm spirit and curious nature, Amarillo is greatly missed, but her old age stands as a testament to the incredible care that she received. And then last but not least in deaths this week, the Cape May County Zoo has said goodbye to Ariel, a female river otter. She suffered a stroke in December and had been doing super well in her recovery until last week when she suffered another stroke and passed away unexpectedly. She was known for many things, most of all for keeping her companion otter, Mark, in line, and also for being absolutely loved by her keepers. She is missed. And moving on from births and deaths, we get to the rest of our Zoo News section. So Beardsley Zoo in Connecticut has announced the winner of the mayoral election this year, and I'm pleased to announce that, yet again, a Rossifari-endorsed candidate has won. Logan, the Amazon river turtle, is officially the mayor of Beardsley Zoo. And my good friend Kevin Williams reached out to me to find out what it's like to be a kingmaker, and honestly wondering what kind of backroom dealings had to take place to ensure that my candidate took the title. I told him I thought it would be better not to get into the political maneuvering necessary to ensure a position of power for my friend Logan, but he kept asking, saying the listeners want to know the truth. So, all right, to that I say, you can't handle the truth. It's a zoo election. Nothing untoward's happened, and Logan won by the will of the people. That is all. And that's not the only election that took place this week, as Piper, the North American river otter, has been elected mayor of Elmwood Park Zoo. While I had initially pushed for my buddy Hank the red-footed tortoise, he moved too slowly to accept the endorsement, so I also turned my attention to Piper, an otter I've seen since the day she arrived at the zoo, who has featured on multiple episodes of the podcast, and who provided an incredible love and companionship to Rocky the river otter, who passed away earlier this year. Honestly, it almost seemed to make him age backwards once he and Piper became friends. I like to joke around about some of this political stuff because, I mean, it's funny. It's a silly, cute thing, right? But it really is amazing. An otter who arrived at the zoo too afraid to swim has grown to become the leader of the zoo. I'm so incredibly proud of her. And yes, I know she's not actually the leader of the zoo, but she really did show up to the zoo as an otter who was afraid to swim or didn't know how to. And the staff at Elmwood Park Zoo worked so incredibly hard to help her come into her own and into her relationship with Rocky and to thrive since he passed. And as someone who got to witness every step of it, including being there one of the first days they put her in a little mini pool to try to swim, and then being there the day that she first swam in the big pool, finally getting over her fear. It was all so magical to witness that. And now to see her being so popular at the zoo is so cool. And honestly, that's part of the magic of what good zoos do. This facility took an animal who couldn't actually function as an otter and gave her such an amazing life and shared her story in such an amazing way that she impacted so many people that they chose to vote for her in this election, silly as the idea of a mayor of the zoo might actually be. But the fact that so many people voted for her is really something and really amazing to see, and speaks to how many lives she has touched and how incredible the impact she has had there. So everyone who voted for Piper or for Logan or for any of the animals that ran and didn't win found themselves investing time and thoughts and effort into animals that often don't get a lot of love or attention. It's really cool. This is like reason 1 million why I'm so obsessed with good zoos. And speaking of the amazing stuff done by zoos, we have another update on Chris's recovery. Chris, of course, is the cheetah at the Cincinnati Zoo who sustained an injury after a fall while running that left her paralyzed in her back legs. And if you've been a Rossifari fan for a while, you have heard her story from the beginning on here. I still have amazing pics of her as a cub as she played with her puppy companion Remus. We ended up mentioning that Chris has been getting physical therapy and recovering slowly with a lot of restrictions. But now we're able to say that the zoo has announced that she is cleared from all restrictions, except for running on the lure. She will continue with advanced physical therapy, but honestly, this is already such a better outcome than anyone could have expected. So yeah, I am so thankful to the incredible cheetah team at the zoo for taking such amazing care of Chris. And honestly, also to the social media and marketing teams for being so transparent about this entire process. It's been beautiful to watch. The Abilene Zoo has partnered with Ampersand Coffee Roasters to launch a new conservation effort called Abilene Bird Coffee. This is a bird-friendly coffee with proceeds supporting the Bird Rehab Center at the zoo and conservation work around the globe. The partnership was created once the zoo got involved in the AZA's Safe American Songbird program. And this is particularly exciting to me because not only is it conservation-y and very cool, but I got to tell y'all, I've spent a lot of time in Texas and especially in like the Fort Worth area, and Ampersand is my favorite coffee down there. I love going to Ampersand. So it's really cool to see a place that I already like just because of good coffee, also doing good animal things. After Hurricane Melissa did a ton of damage to the island of Jamaica, Hope Zoo has announced that all animals and staff were completely okay, which is a huge victory for the facility. Hurricanes are scary no matter what, but Melissa hit some truly scary numbers, and a lot of people were worried that the zoo would be wiped off the map. Instead, the incredible team saw everyone, human and animal, well, non-human animal, because we are animals, through the story with aplomb. And while the zoo will have to do a lot of work to recover from the storm in many ways, they can be proud of what they accomplished during an absolutely terrifying time. And speaking of a tragedy, but of a different kind, the federal government of the United States remains shut down, meaning our friends at Smithsonian's National Zoo are still not getting paid. And that's not the actual story here that I'm going to share with y'all right now, but every time the shutdown comes up, I feel compelled to remind people of the incredible keepers and vets and other staff at the zoo who aren't getting paid with no end in sight, while they continue to provide the best care in the world for their animals. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing up the shutdown is that the Columbus Zoo is offering federal employees free admission for themselves and up to 5 guests, including free parking, to the zoo from now until November 20th. All they need to do is show their federal ID at parking and then again at admissions. And I just think this is so thoughtful. And the announcement was so welcoming and so just like, please come here, relax, live your life. Let us welcome you. You are welcome. And it was just so good. I love the Columbus Zoo, and that made me really happy. All right, next up, we have 2 more stories in this section. First of all, the Indianapolis Zoo recently had 2 tortoises stolen from their facility, but don't worry, they were found by the Indiana State Police and returned to the zoo. The 2 tortoises were a northern Egyptian tortoise and a northern spider tortoise, which are both endangered species. I'm so glad that the police were able to find them and that they were returned. Tortoise thefts aren't, common from zoos, but they are way more common than other species. And honestly, it's just such an indication of how problematic the illegal wildlife trade is. And it also serves as a reminder to zoos that house these species that it is essential to be able to properly protect them. People might try to steal your tortoises. It's crazy. And then last but not least in zoo news this week, the Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series, which is relevant to us as the Toronto Zoo and the Los Angeles Zoo had made a friendly wager around the series. The Toronto Zoo changed their logo on all of their social media pages to be a California condor, a fun and silly way to acknowledge the Dodgers' victory. And I have to say, the Toronto Zoo was amazing not only in this defeat, where they created a logo that was beautiful and in the style of their logos, but they were amazing during the entire series. They were supporting the Blue Jays and tying every post supporting the team into incredible and unique animal and conservation facts. I'm not a big fan of baseball, but honestly, the Toronto Zoo really got me hyped about the World Series this year, because I don't know if you know this about me, but I get pretty excited about zoo things. It might be news for some of y'all. Sorry to surprise. But with that said, it is time for
Conservation, news time. Oh yeah.
Another week, another rediscovery. The Turkestan long-eared bat has been seen after 55 years, missing from the Karakum Desert, where it had been feared to have gone extinct. The last evidence of the species was seen back in 1970, but advances in technology have led to it being found again. And it's not even about the bat at this point. Like, that's really cool. I love that. But it is really such an interesting perspective doing this podcast, or for you listening to this podcast and seeing this happen almost every week. I have lots of thoughts about it. I mean, I understand it. It's hard to know what a population of animals is, especially in a remote area. And technology is always advancing. So this all makes sense logically, but I don't know. I have lots of thoughts about not the individual rediscoveries, but the fact that there are so many that it seems to happen every week. So I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts. So please reach out and let me know what this makes you think, and honestly, what it makes you think, what it means for you, about conservation, and what it makes you think about that word or that world. And then moving on from that, I have to say, not only are we constantly rediscovering species, but we are also discovering lots of new ones. Dozens of new species have been discovered in the Southern Ocean surrounding Antarctica. Over 30 species have been found so far, and expeditions are expected to continue into the area, and they are expected to continue to find new ones. Of the 30 plus that have been found so far, there's one that is called the death ball sponge, which is a carnivorous sponge, and it looks like little balls and causes death. So good name and funky name. And then last but not least, I find this one really weird and kind of cool. Lead levels are, okay, so this actually, when I start saying this, it's going to sound terrible that I said it was cool, but stay with me. Lead levels are a huge concern for wild animals that share a planet with, humans. And a Tulane PhD student has been doing research into the lizards of New Orleans, and in the process discovered the highest ever recorded levels of lead in a wild vertebrate. Ever. Now, the lizards that were studied are brown anoles, which are an invasive species, but one that has fully taken to New Orleans and can be seen literally everywhere around there. I remember being so disturbed when I visited my aunt and uncle there for the first time because there were just dead lizards like all along their door frame, but lizards would just keep running in and out. Like if you were going to open and close a door, you were going to kill a lizard. It's just crazy down there how often you see these guys. But what makes this interesting is despite their insane lead levels, right? Literally the highest ever recorded in a wild vertebrate, these little lizards are not showing any ill effects, which obviously is shocking. Not only are individuals not showing any issues, but the overall population is still thriving and growing, even though we kind of wish it wasn't because it's an invasive species. But, with lead levels like this, that would be unthinkable in most animals. So scientists are hoping that some of what we learn from this information can help us manage lead levels and possibly even lead poisoning in other species, possibly including us.
It's time for other news. It's time for other news. Hey, now, right now, now it's time. It's time for other news. Hey, it's a segue to the part called other news.
Another week, another fake animal story started by the Storytime Facebook page, but then shared all over social media as though it is real. This week, the story is that a Montana man was walking home when he saw a moose. The moose didn't see him, but apparently saw itself reflected in an ATM and charged the machine, sending money flying everywhere. The man watched the moose wander off and then scooped up around $200,000 from the ground before running off. He was wearing a big, large hood and was unable to be identified. But people were saying, they were joking. The bank was joking around that the moose was going to be sued for the money or whatever. But again, this story is fake. And I share it like I have done before with other stories to warn you all about these fake stories that keep happening, but also to remind y'all that we are still at the beginning of this AI created fake stories era. So stay sharp, y'all, and not just with animal news, but in general. It's only gonna get weirder.
Oh, animal holidays. Animal holidays. Hey!
It is November, which is Manatee Awareness Month. And then for your individual holidays and weeks, you've got the 7th, which is International Land Snail Day, and National Hug a Bear Day. And yes, this means to go hug a stuffed bear. Do not go hug a real bear. Or do, but it won't go well. But I'm not the boss of you. Anyway, moving on from there, the 9th starts Orangutan Caring Week, which includes the 12th, which is Orange for Orangutan Day. And then the 13th is the International Day of Zoo and Aquarium Education. And those are your animal holidays for the week. All right, well, there you have it, folks. Another episode of Rossifari Zoo News recorded before I fell asleep. not by a lot, because this Tree Kangaroo Workshop is going to be the death of me. But it's also like my favorite thing I've ever done. Before I get going, I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. And actually, again, speaking of those stickers, y'all, we got some really cool ones coming for this month. I'm really excited. And then I'd also like to thank everyone who contributed stories for this week. So a big hearty thank you to Anya Keene, Colleen Linehan, Kim Cooley-Croninger, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Kevin Williams, Emily Rockbuck, Dr. Natalie Taco, Jess Wells, Dr. Laura Shank, Barbara Bennett, April Taylor, Michael Sebastian, Crystal Chapman, Kristen Khalil, Anna McEachran, Holly Page, Jacob Zinn, Marianne Rossi, and Yoshioka, Mark Hansen,
Ali Malensky, Kay Malensky,
Daniel Cohen, Madeline Weaver, Dr. Zoe Rossi, Kristen Dickey, Jamie Chavez, Miles Rossi, Maddie Pats, Jay Meredith, Becca Robinson, and Sarah Gilstol. Thank you all so much. We'll be back here on Tuesday for our Tree Kangaroo Workshop recap episode, assuming that I don't just sleep from the second I stop recording until sometime Tuesday afternoon. But assuming that doesn't happen, we'll be back on Tuesday with that. And until then, remember, friends, the words Newsy credits backwards are Steiderk Yuswen.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.
Get there, but I said but. I meant gut.